Oh, and we are live. I think I did this wrong. So apologies, Patrick, if you thought we were about to do the little intro.
It's all right.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Crash the Pond podcast. It is a Monday, October 13th edition of the show. And I just gave it away, but I'm joined today by Patrick of the Hockey News. Thanks for coming on. How's it going?
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited that hockey's back, but we were just talking off stream that my head's kind of spinning just with all the hockey going on. I feel like I'm missing out on so much. Every time there's a 14 game night and then there's a one game night and then a 14 game night, but it's a lot to catch up on, but it's a good time of year after the long summer of no hockey at all. So
Yeah, it's like you go from no hockey to it's preseason. This doesn't matter to drinking out of a fire hose, and
yes.
it's why we love it. We love the hockey. But so part of the reason Patrick is here today is because Jake is officially out on paternity leave. He and his wife welcomed a beautiful baby girl into the world this weekend. So congratulations to Jake and his family. That is pretty special, pretty cool, and take all the time you need, Jake. You know, we're not in a hurry to have you back. So,
Yeah, Rudolph party of four early in the season. He picked a good time to do it, which
yeah,
up to him completely.
yeah, picked a good time, and yeah, take all the time you need. I can't. I mean, as someone who has not been through that journey, the sleep schedule sounds pretty rough.
Yes.
Early on, I just yeah, not something that I'm necessarily looking forward to. But we've got hockey to talk about. We've got real regular season, non-preseason, non-glorified scrimmage hockey to talk about. So let's do that. Let's just
Yes.
not waste any more time here. So the Ducks have started their season. They are 1-1. They lost their opening game to the Seattle Kraken, 3-1, and they won in a wild affair Saturday night in San Jose, 7-6 in overtime. So before we get into the specific games, one thing I thought I'd throw to you here, Patrick, is I know that you're someone who really watches kind of the systems of the team, and in these two games, is there anything that has stood out to you as far as differences from last year?
Oh, as far as stylistically, it's night and day. They preached puck possession heading into the year with Quenneville and the new coaching staff, and I think that's been completely on display in the first two games. I mean, the numbers will bear this out, but they're they just have the puck more. Period. There's the stretch passes out of the zone, the high flips. That's all kind of gone. It's more shorter passes and support, things like that. And then when they're in the offensive zone, it's more cycle based, high low activating defensemen and not so much just constantly funneling pucks to the net. It's a lot less of that kind of Carolina Hurricanes structure and more, creative based and basically possession based. They say, when the puck is on your stick, it's not in the defensive zone and you're not playing defense. So that's kind of the goal. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that with these first two games. I know it was against, the two teams that finished below them in the Pacific Division, the Kraken and the Sharks. But at the same time, that really gives you a chance to evaluate kind of what they're going for, I suppose.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one to evaluate because, like you said, there are certainly changes, but at the same time, they are playing two teams that could very well be the bottom two teams in the Pacific this year. So it's kind of, you gotta somewhat be careful with it. But I guess I'm glad you're here to answer this because I've just been so fixated on individual players that I haven't really fully grasped the team concept yet. I will say that I think the power play looks a little different. I'm not saying it looks better, but it looks different. I think that they do a better job of possessing the puck. They do a better job of just getting passes and staying in the zone and establishing possession. But I don't know if it's necessarily translated yet. What have you seen from the power play?
So not just the power play, but it's the success of all of these this new style and these new systems is going to take some time. But we kind of see the blueprints a little bit, and you can see how it would be successful, I suppose, in theory. But for the power play, it's less because if you ask what was wrong with the power play last year, the answer was just shoot more. right? This time it feels like there's more of a purpose. There, you get a little bit of the Oilers power play with, the high strong side forward or the high left flank curling and then trying to attack downhill. A little bit of that. I think Kreider scored his first goal on the power play on Saturday, and they really utilized the bumper and then kind of collapsed on the crease area. So it just feels like they're attacking with a little bit more of a purpose. At least I would hope. Although, yeah, the success rate, we'll see if it bears out. But the structure's there, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I do like, and you can see how it will be could be successful in the future.
Yeah, because it's funny because in the first game and even in parts of the Sharks game, I was kind of sitting there asking myself, like, what are they working towards? What is this power play trying to do? And because a lot of power plays, you can see it. There's a shooter on one flank or both flanks, and they're trying to free that guy up to get the kill shot one-timer. But this top unit with Kreider at the front, Carlson and Granlund on the wings, they don't have that. And I think when Kreider scored, it was kind of like, oh, okay, they're trying to get it into the middle. They're trying to get that high danger chance from the slot. And, it's kind of an all or nothing strategy a little bit, but I don't mind it. At least there's kind of a plan there. So,
yeah. And maybe they'll build out a plan B eventually. But right now, they also kind of didn't practice a whole lot of the power play throughout training camp. So now it seems like,
which is
now
weird.
that the team is set, right? But now that the team is set, it seems like they're doing a lot more work with that. Like today, they worked on the power play. I wasn't there, but I know from Derek, I know that they worked on the power play. So, they're working on it now, I guess. But yeah, that the directive just seems to be, feed the slot and feed the bumper. The only, I don't know about you, but the only thing I'm scratching my head about is Granlund on that that right flank is interesting. And if the purpose is to feed the slot, then maybe that makes sense. But that one's kind of a head scratcher for me.
Well, he's also a lefty, I think. So it's not really a natural spot to feed the slot. I mean, I don't know. I have some thoughts on that, but let's get into the games just so we kind of cover these. So the opening night against the Kraken. So Ducks lose 3-1, but that doesn't really tell the whole story because their first period was probably one of the best periods they've played in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
They outshot the Kraken 17-5. Now they were trailing 1-0, to start off. What did you see? And I'll talk about the goal. We'll talk about the goal they scored in that period. But what did you see from that period? What was working so well for the Ducks there?
So kind of a lot of the things that I talked about to open with their new style, their new set of standards. It was, I know, but it was a lot of support on regroups instead of stretch passes and tips and then establishing a forecheck. It was more, they were more trying to build plays through the defensive zone and the neutral zone so that they could gain the blue line with possession and then start their cycle from there or get a chance off the rush, right? So that's a lot of what I saw. And then once possession was established, it was a lot of working to get optimal shots and then pouncing on rebounds and stuff like that. So it wasn't just low, high shot and then try to win a 50-50 in the corner. It was a lot more, creative based, I feel. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I'm having a tough time with these games because on one hand, I agree that they did some things that looked really good, but then I just keep asking myself in that period, like, well, this is the first period of the season. They're playing a bad team. Well, what we think will be a bad team. Is this real? Like I'm sitting there almost in disbelief instead of analyzing what I see. Maybe I should shake that and let go of my priors. But I think one thing that did jumped out a bit watching the San Jose game is that their defensemen are really aggressive in kind of cutting off breakouts for the opposing team at the offensive blue line. And the defensemen are not shy to jump into the play either. Now, I guess we did see that last year and the last 2 years with Cronin as well, but it feels like the guys are just better at it now. Like, you've got Lacombe, who's, I mean, Lacombe's first two games are kind of weird to me because he seems almost casual. He seems a little like he knows he's the man now and he doesn't have to force it. But sometimes it's almost a little too relaxed. I'd like, let's get some urgency back into the game here. But he's looking very confident. We'll go more in depth on him, but Olin Zellweger looks really good. And even the third pairing, who's had their spurts and their fits, I think that they still bring an element. So I think that the defensemen maybe are part of it. And you raise an interesting point with the kind of establishing possession because, yeah, it doesn't feel like they're just, like you said, low to high, jamming it on net, hoping to get a rebound and just kind of doing that meat and potatoes hockey thing. Like it does feel like they are working towards scoring chances, which the rest of the league has been doing for a while now, but it's good to see that the Ducks have gotten the memo. But the real headline of that period is obviously Beckett Sennecke making his NHL debut in this game. Made the team. I think we talked about it on this podcast more than a few times, so no need to rehash that. But made the team, and on his second NHL shift, just a nice play, getting in behind the defense, tapping home a really nice pass from McTavish. What was kind of just your reaction to that play when you saw that? Because it's his first NHL shot, too.
True. Well, what a play by McTavish. I think he's looked especially good these first two games as well. But that's kind of one of those, they gained entry and then they won a battle low. I think Sennecke was pretty disruptive in that forecheck, and then it comes to McTavish and Sennecke finds himself on the back door. It was a clever play, but that was, it's not a highlight reel, but that's pretty meat and potatoes. But that's kind of like the possession, and then working toward a high quality chance instead of again just funneling pucks toward the net. So that was a good sign, at least on all accounts.
Yeah, and I guess we can just talk about him now. So first game in the books for Beckett Sennecke. I will just say quickly that after that first period, it was a bit of downhill from there for the Ducks. I think all of that momentum that they really generated in the first period just didn't really carry over. And what was interesting to me after the game is that no one seemed to have a really good answer for why that happened. Like Troy Terry was asked about it, Quenneville was asked about it, and of course, heat of the moment, you're not necessarily going to have all the answers, but it felt like they kind of just faded while the Kraken picked up their game. And I will say, I think that the biggest thing was just these very critical mistakes in the neutral zone. But I mean, how do you explain it? Because a probably Hall of Fame NHL coach and a very good NHLer didn't have an answer. So what's your answer for what happened there?
Well, that's a lot of pressure. I honestly, I don't know either. But I think a lot of it, maybe that first period was just all adrenaline, and then once they kind of settled in, they didn't really have an answer for the counterpunch, perhaps. Maybe getting down a goal, or getting down a goal a second time, kind of took the wind out of their sails. Maybe I honestly don't know, but it was kind of a little discouraging to see that they didn't have an answer. Yeah, I honestly don't have, and they didn't really have an answer today either. I think Derek asked Killorn,
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was just like, sometimes the wind's just taken out and you don't have an answer, and maybe that's just part of this whole thing coming together. But
yeah,
they had an answer the next night, I guess.
Well, they did
kind of.
I'm not going to go there yet, but
yeah.
I think that what really stuck out to me in that loss to Seattle was just these really poor habits that they've had in the past. This is nothing new, but this inability by the forwards to get back and cover the slot, or Trouba taking a bad angle on the second goal, or Terry turning the puck over at the offensive blue line. You had the turnover on the McCann goal where you can see Vetrano's just coming on the ice, and Carlson doesn't recognize that his teammate is late getting on, and he's got to go cover that space. So it's a lot of just these these moments where, I mean, for lack of a better term, but like you've got to just, I hate to say this, but you've got to do the right thing. You've got to play the game the right way. You've got to cover the middle. You've got to hustle back. You've just got to do the boring, not sexy things that do actually win games, both in the regular season and the playoffs. And it just feels like this team, they love to talk about systems and everybody's happy-go-lucky in training camp, but like when the puck is down and there's the scoreboard that's turned on, like that is when it's time to actually, do those things that matter. And when I see Carlson, and it wasn't just him on the second goal, but guys just vertical on the back check, not even striding back, it's just like, do you want to win or not? Because that's how you prove it to me, is you back check. Maybe I'm just getting senile and back checking is all I care about. But to me, it's kind of a tell of a team that wants to win or not, is how hard are you back checking. And at least in that game, I thought that the back check was a big problem. I think someone said something offhand about like the high F3, that third forward on the forecheck that's got to make a decision when he sees the other guys getting in deep and that guy overcommitting. And, maybe it was just kind of lack of judgment, but it just felt like kind of a collective failure to just do the right things. So shoving that to the side.
Well, no, those are those little things that coaches preach that matter. Those little things that kind of build until it's a big thing. Like like you said, the Trouba going into the corner to make that play when he's not reading his back check or lack thereof. Right? It's not just that there wasn't a back check; is that Trouba's not reading that there's not a back check and kind of
right.
shading toward the most dangerous player, which is the guy in front. And then, the Seattle third goal, Kreider goes off for a change when Seattle's regrouping with speed, which leaves bad change,
yeah.
Which, it leaves, I think it was Hellison to lose a battle in the corner. And then, Minchikov's outnumbered in front. Like those are those little things, but a line change is a little thing, but an important thing. And those little mistakes kind of carried over, but they were very, very costly in both games. So that if those continue, that's a little concerning. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I kind of sometimes hate when people, look at the shots on goal and say, "Oh, well, the Ducks deserve better. They were the better team for most of the game." Blah blah. It's like, yeah, sure, but if you can't avoid these brain farts, you're not going to win. It doesn't matter how many shots on goal you have. If you make a crummy line change as a longtime NHL veteran, or Jacob Trouba, like you mentioned, can't recognize that nobody's back and you overcommit to the corner, like you're going to lose. It's just that simple. Again, it could just be the first game rust. Who knows? But this is not new from this team. I think that's where I kind of get frustrated watching that, is that this happened to them last year too, where they would have good games and then just 3 to 4 back-breaking mistakes and you lose the game. So, exhale. Beckett Sennecke, though, flipping to a positive. So Beckett Sennecke. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, we didn't talk about why Sennecke was even put on that line, is because Ryan Strome, he got injured the practice before I think they flew out, upper body injury, and he's listed day to day, but he's on IR. So Granlund filled in. Yep. So Granlund filled in for him on his line, and then Sennecke filled in for Granlund on that McTavish-Gauthier line.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it was McTavish, Sennecke, Gauthier, and they were probably the Ducks' best line that game. They generated a ton of offense, but Sennecke, first game, NHL debut, scores. What did you make of his game?
So, I mean, we had talked a lot about Sennecke, leading up to this, the rookie camp, the rookie games, preseason, all that. And like, what a night and day difference. Way more refined. Like the details, the habits were a lot crisper. I thought, there was still a little bit of that, but that's, losing wall battles, getting pushed off pucks, like that's kind of rookie stuff. Like that's just going to happen to every rookie, and it does. But I was impressed with, positioning was good, and just building plays, connecting plays, those little things. I thought, I was very impressed. Nothing super sexy and like nothing highlight worthy in that first game, but just a solid performance. What did you make?
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. Where it's kind of like you have to gauge your own priors and react in a measured way, because it's one of those things where I said it a bunch in the preseason. I didn't think he was NHL ready. People didn't like hearing that. And of course, he comes out and scores on his second NHL shift, first NHL shot. So for me, the bar was pretty low in terms of what I expected, and he exceeded that bar. He, like you said, he was engaged physically. He was in the right spots. He had some really nice plays where he protected the puck to then make the next play. Like there was one play at the blue line, his blue line, where his back is to center ice, and he feels the pressure coming, and he just kind of sticks out his back, shields that puck, and then makes the pass to an oncoming forward. And like it's those little things that we just didn't really see at all in the preseason. But then you kind of step back, and it's like, well, how much is all of that worth? Like it's good to see all that, but what is that really? And for a 19-year-old, first professional hockey game ever, it's actually really good. It's really good to see that. And like you said, he did get pushed off the puck a little too easily. I think he had one turnover that was actually pretty bad at one point in his defensive zone, but there was nothing catastrophic. And by the end of the game, he was starting to make some plays. He had that one play where he held onto it at the offensive blue line and then put the puck between the defenseman's skates. I don't know if that was intentional. It looked like it may have slid off his blade a little bit, but it was still a nice play. So yeah, overall, like this just wasn't the brand of hockey that I think any of us envisioned Beckett Sennecke bringing once he would get to the NHL. You think of the dangles and the highlight reel stuff, but it was really just kind of solid professional hockey from him, which we're happy to see.
Yeah, those little plays where he kind of just like puts the puck into defenseman's feet and then just kind of sees what happens. But
he does
that's kind of what he does. He makes it seem like he's way off balance, and then all of a sudden he comes out of a scrum with the puck, and you're just like, how did you do that at full speed? And it's like, I don't understand how he manipulates and moves his body the way he does, and he's very slippery somehow.
Yeah.
But it works. He makes it work for him. And then, and then there was the play. Even when he does like little rookie things, like there was the play where he tries to go after a 50-50 puck with Jamie Alexiak and gets completely bodied.
Oh, yeah.
But like the puck still,
hilarious.
the puck still went into the offensive corner. Like it didn't, no harm, no foul. But like those little things where it's like, maybe don't try to out leverage a guy who's 6'7" and 250, 60 pounds.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've not to make it about the Canadians already, but I've seen that from Demidov a little bit this season, where he goes into the corner against bigger guys, and to his credit, willing combatant, but it's like it's just not going to be there for you right now. But yeah, so with Sennecke, I mean, he looked really good, but I still wonder where this is all going. I guess I still have my questions about, is like what's best for him. Is it to just kind of keep doing this thing of chipping away, grinding away at the NHL game and slowly getting better? Or is it to kind of do this for a while and then go back? Like, what's your take on that?
If it's not broke, I mean, it's been 2 games, but
right. Yeah.
I guess you gotta kind of see what the next, 5 to 10 look like. But if it continues on this trajectory, I think there's no way to, can't send him back. But if this continues, if the production continues and these little, not the catastrophic mistakes aren't as present, I think, because that's what you're worried about, right? With a volatile rookie in this lineup that's, again, trying to make the playoffs. Yeah. You're worried about him making these catastrophic mistakes. And if those aren't coming and he's just, learning the NHL game slowly, but still producing, I think that's the best you can hope for. So, let this kind of play out and evaluate down the road. But I'll be interested to see.
Well, part of it too is just that right now it's kind of an easy decision because of Strome being out. Mm-hmm. But once Strome returns, I'm curious do they just leave the kid line together and put Strome on the fourth line? Like what are they going to do necessarily? I'm not sure. So we'll see. But it was a strong start for him. And let's just kind of turn the page here to the San Jose game. So I don't know what to say about this game. The Ducks win 7-6 in OT, and I think the right word is barn burner. This was a barn burner of a game. Just what's interesting is that as crazy as it felt, the Ducks did outshoot the Sharks 44-23. They kind of controlled the play. I guess for you, what tells the more accurate story, the shot total or the goal total? Like which one is, or is it a bit of both? Kind of where do you see that?
No, it's a bit of both. It's the Ducks controlling play, but then again, making those big mistakes at critical moments that end up in the back of the net. Like the mistakes aren't as often because the Ducks have the puck more, but when they are made, they are winding up in the back of the net, and So I think that question, that's a little bit of both. But if you like defense, this was not the game for you.
Or goaltending, for that matter.
Goaltending.
If you're a fan of goalies getting drafted in the first round, this was not a good game for you, because the 11th overall goalie getting lit up for 7 goals on 23 shots is not helping that case for goalies going very high in the first round. Well, the Ducks may have a little bit of a goalie controversy if you are going off of the Twitter comments. Peter Mrazek allowing 6 goals in this game, 6 goals on 23 shots. I threw some shade there at Askarov. 6 goals on 23 shots. If the Ducks just get adequate goaltending in this game, are we even having any conversation about the Ducks being sloppy? Is this, how much of a factor negatively was Mrazek in this game?
Well, you and I are having a conversation about it because we care about that kind of stuff. But I think the general discussion is way less, inflamed. So, but yeah, Mrazek was eventful. I thought, I was not encouraged after a pretty good preseason. I was not encouraged by his performance. I think he stays very deep in his net. I think I texted our group about that. Like, his heels are almost on the goal line all the time, no matter if it goes left to right, low to high. And he's not big. And he's not a big guy, so he's not taking that much of the net. I think he must just rely completely on his athleticism, but I don't know how sustainable that would be, especially in a game like that. So a lot to be desired from Mrazek here.
Yeah, it's funny because in the beginning, like, for example, the first goal that Toffoli scored, I didn't think that was on Mrazek at all, because that's just a perfect shot. But then, you have the second goal where Ryan Reeves turns a corner on Drew Helleson, which also yikes, but tucks it in short side. You don't want to see that. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just a goalie apologist. I didn't think he was good. This was not a good game. Anytime you allow 6 on 23 as a goalie, like that's not a game you want to repeat. But maybe it's just the purist / stickler in me, but I still think the Ducks were very sloppy in this game, despite the shot totals. There were still some pretty poor mistakes in the defensive zone against a really, I think the Sharks are going to be very bad. And I don't think they're going to be as bad as Chicago, but they're going to be bad. And to kind of make the Sharks look decent, with these breakdowns in the defensive zone, in that second period, the Ducks were making the Sharks look pretty good. And again, these are all priors because we don't have a lot to go off, but I don't think the Sharks are going to be good at all. I think the Sharks are going to be competing for Gavin McKenna this season. So it's just one period out of 6 so far, but this team's tendency to look so disorganized in these first 2 games is just something to note. It's just something to note. We'll see if it continues. I think that oh, were you going to say something there?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, like, I think what I'm seeing a little bit, it's 2 games, but like the trend I'm seeing a little bit is like they have a tough time regrouping or reacting to when things don't go perfectly according to plan, especially when they're breaking out and trying to advance pucks through the neutral zone, when there's like a turnover or a guy gets sealed and all of a sudden there's a regroup. Like again, we saw with the Kreider change in the Seattle game. You saw a little bit of that where, the Reeves goal, like you said, Drew Hellison gets caught flat-footed in a situation where, his winger gets pinched on the boards and Reeves just goes the other way with speed. Like, yeah, that can't get tucked short side on Mrazek like that, but at the same time, Hellison's got to angle a little better and I think anticipate that a little more, I guess. But yeah, it's those little plays, again, those details that are just, really hurting them. And a lot of it is, I think, in transition and when things kind of break down and they're not like, they don't have a plan B, a reaction to those situations.
No, I think that's a good point. And I mean, I think a good example of that was the Sharks' 6th goal, where the Sharks are just cycling and the puck gets thrown on net and you have 3, maybe even 4, depending how you want to count, white jerseys around one teal jersey, and nobody can get the puck off of Jeff Skinner's stick. And, Skinner turns around, fires off a shot that beats Mrazek, which, yeah, Mrazek looks bad on. But to me, it's just math. If there are 3 jerseys of your team around one jersey of the other team, that puck has to be cleared out. That puck has to be gotten rid of somehow. And it's just these things where I think in some ways this is a concern, but also the theme that we heard all throughout training camp was don't be afraid to make mistakes from the coaching staff. And they are embracing that. But I do think that maybe this is a kind of a long game thing where the Ducks are going to be a little more freewheeling, a little sloppier. But if it means that guys are bought in, then maybe it also means guys are more likely to correct those mistakes. Because Cronin was all about set the standard. These are my non-negotiables, your value system on the ice, all these just rah things. And yet those things never improved. They actually deteriorated over the course of the season. So, it's we just have to see. We have to let it play out. I'm trying not to get too blood boiling quite yet. I will say that the most fascinating thing for me in this game was actually in the third period, as the Ducks are trying to make their comeback. So in the first game, we saw Quenneville, I almost said Cronin. We saw Quenneville completely line blender everything, which it was so comical. Like he changed every pairing and every forward line that you almost can't have a takeaway. But right. In the Sharks game, it was a little bit more targeted where he flipped Terry and Killorn. So he had Killorn with Karlsson and Kreider and Vetrano with Granlund and Terry. Now, was Terry... So Terry was with Granlund and Vetrano today at practice? Is that
yes?
Okay, so how do you see... Like, what's your take on that? And just this... I mean, seeing your first line get broken up after 2 games isn't necessarily what you want to see.
No, it's not. The first game was a little jarring because you're like, these guys have been together for 40 minutes of regular season hockey and we're throwing everything in the blender right now. And it didn't work. So, maybe we learned a lesson there. But yeah, flipping Terry to the third line for Killorn, from a structure standpoint, I like it because I think those players kind of, to me, I question if Terry and Karlsson work that well together. They're both so puck dominant and kind of almost get in each other's way a little bit. Whereas the whole basis of Kreider and Killorn's game is to create space for their line mates. And when you have a line mate like Leo Karlsson to fill in that space, I think that kind of works. And same thing with Terry. He's just so puck dominant that Granlund can kind of just connect plays and do little things to advance the puck. And then, Vetrano is just a forechecker and, a workhorse. So I like the shuffle. But at the same time, breaking up your top line with your, one of your star forwards and your franchise player probably isn't an ideal outlook or.
Yeah, it's not what you want 2 games in.
Yeah. But as far as the new structure, I understand it. What did you make?
Yeah, I think that in some ways, I think we all want to see Terry with Carlson kind of work because logically, it's your two best forwards, and so that should work. And yet, hockey is a weird sport where you can put two very good players together and it might just not work. And I think that we saw a little bit of this last season. I think they played a little bit together last season. Not very little, but
Yeah.
stylistically, when you watch Leo Carlson play, and I say this not as a negative, but just as a reality, he doesn't necessarily look for people that much. Like his game is I'm going to attack, 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 and however the opposing team reacts to that, I will then find you. It's not so much let me probe, dissect, and then send you a perfect pass through sticks. It's a lot of just attack the middle, dish out, give and go. You know, we just don't really see him kind of curling along the wall, Joe Thornton, Ryan Getzlaff style, just looking for somebody, head up kind of thing, which is fine. It's just a total stylistic thing. So you put that guy next to Troy Terry, who, you know, isn't necessarily this off puck kind of sneaking in behind layers, you know, creating space, lifting sticks. Like he's very much a give me the puck, kind of like Carlson. I'm going to put my head down and attack and curl. I'm going to curl back and forth like 5 times to then find a shot or whatever. Like, again, it's fine. These are good players, but it's just those two skill sets, they might just not be compatible. Their, you know, their zodiac signs might just not be compatible. We don't know. But the skill sets aren't there. And so you put Terry with Granlund and Vetrano, who are guys who are going to get rid of the puck, who are going to move it quickly, who are going to make, you know, just kind of quick decisions. That lets Terry be Terry. And then you put Killorn, who, it's funny, everyone criticizes Killorn being with Carlson as slowing him down, which to a degree, yes. Like in an ideal world, Alex Killorn is not Leo Carlson's line mate, but on this team, Killorn's probably the best fit because he knows where to be. He can get him the puck. As soon as he gets it, he's looking for Carlson, and he can also get open for a shot. And it's not that exciting, but it seems to work for these guys.
That building off that, Derek talked to Killorn again today at practice, and he's like talking about, you know, getting put on his new line. And he's like, yeah, when I play with Leo, especially, and, you know, he got into detail a little bit. He's like, when I'm a lefty on the right side, I can kind of backtrack towards my own goal line a little bit to kind of open up space and then just hit Leo with speed because I know he's going to be supporting me with speed. And it's like that kind of stuff that, you get from a veteran and a smart veteran at that. And that's the kind of stuff that goes under the radar. And all a lot of people see is, you know, Killorn not being a fast player and not finishing off of these chances that end up on his stick sometimes, but not seeing how the play gets built. And that's kind of where Killorn thrives, is those little things that go unnoticed, but really kind of spring and kind of rise the tide of the line. And, you know, those little things. And I really liked that kind of breakdown from him where he basically said, my whole job is to get Leo the puck. And if it's in speed, great. That's ideal. And I love that answer from him.
That's a great quote because I mean, it's not just great because I agree with it, but it is a great quote because it shows he's thinking of the game. But I also 100% agree with it because when you watch the game, that's what it looks like. Carlson, you know, everyone talks about the center being the one that's got to feed the wingers, but with Carlson, it's the opposite where it's the wingers who need to find him because he's the one that's going to come in with speed, and if you can catch him with speed attacking, he's going to go through people. Like he's just a freight train. And so I love hearing that from Killorn because that is pretty much your job when you play with Leo Carlson is get him the puck and then get open. Mm-hmm. With Troy Terry, I don't think Terry really sees the game that way. When Terry gets the puck, he's thinking, I'm going to carry it and I'm going to go attack, which he should. He's really good at it. But it's just when he's doing that, now Leo Carlson doesn't have the puck, and now you're kind of wasting Leo Carlson. Yeah. So it's still a weird thing to think about because these are two really good players, and it's the old adage of like talent works itself out. But I mean, we've seen it with, I mean, the prime example of this is Sidney Crosby, where there's always been this thing of, oh, only certain guys can play with Crosby. You know, whether you go back to like Pascal Dupuis or Chris Kunitz, what have
Yeah.
you, that only certain guys would fit with Sid. I mean, do you think that there's any kernel of truth to that like some great players you need a specific player type, or they're not necessarily the easiest to play with?
A little bit. Just you don't want players too similar to each other, I feel.
Yeah.
Kaprizov and Boldy are great players, but they work well, but they're so different, right? So
Slavkovsky and Suzuki.
there you go. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. Yeah.
No, I think that's it right there. It's just you want diversity with your skill sets. Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we kind of go through the rest of the lines here, or just kind of some other observations on the players. So, you know, you mentioned Chris Kreider here. I mean, what did you see from him in his first two games? Because I wasn't paying that close of attention to him, so I'm relying on you here to give us the Kreider update.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Chris Kreider in the preseason. You know, I was listening to a couple of some Crash the Ponds from the past, and you were saying that a lot of veterans are out for a sweat in the preseason. Now, you know what? I think Kreider was a little guilty of just being out there for a sweat in the preseason. The regular season, I thought you see what Chris Kreider does. Like, you get a little bit more when you're paying hyper close attention. You see a lot more of how he's been such an effective player for so long, and below the circles in the offensive zone, he's dynamite. Like the decision making along the walls to when a puck is rimmed to stop it or to let it go is another little thing, but it's one of those that you're like, wow. But you see it so much with him. He lets a puck go that you think he should stop because he's got a guy in front, but then he's got a player supporting on the opposite side. And then, he just wins every battle in front. He knows exactly where the goalie's line of vision is toward the puck, and is always just, putting his big body in front of the goalie to screen. And he's winning every battle for loose pucks after those shots are made. And that's how a lot of the times that line is retaining possession, is Chris Kreider winning a battle in a small area. I think, I don't know about. I haven't seen much of him in open ice yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen the speed necessarily.
Yeah, what he brings there. But I think the small area play is pretty great, and I didn't like that line change that we talked about earlier. But other than that, I thought his game was very, very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to be working fine with him and Carlson, which is interesting because I remember in the offseason, all the projections had Kreider with McTavish, and they went Kreider Carlson right away. We never saw Kreider McTavish. Part of that's because McTavish was in Ottawa for half of camp.
Yeah.
But anywho, well, good to hear. I'm kind of guilty of not paying as much attention to the veterans, especially in the early going. I'm very fixated on the kids because I'm curious how they're doing. But
we also said there's a lot to pay attention to.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's only so much I can keep track of in one game.
Yeah.
But talking about that kid line, though, as they have been called, as they have been dubbed, Cutter Gauthier, we've talked about Sennecke already. I should also add he scored again against the Sharks. I thought his Sharks game wasn't quite as good as his Seattle game. Would you agree with that? It was a little bit of the same. Didn't see as much offense, though.
I would say they're pretty even.
Okay.
He was, I don't know. It wasn't super noticeable a lot, but except, he got the goal and the assist. But the play where that impressed me the most was, speaking of Cutter's first goal, where there's just a play. It's just a simple breakout, but then Will Smith goes to cut the play off, and Sennecke just lifts his stick, and it just springs Gauthier on that semi-break, and Gauthier does the rest. But that little play was my favorite play that Senneca's made so far.
A stick lift.
A stick lift, a little stick lift, but that's
Fair.
just me. That's my hockey nerd brain is just
No, but
I love the little plays like that.
it's funny because as you say that, I'm rewatching it because I think I missed part of that period. But yeah, that if he doesn't lift Smith's stick there, uh, that puck gets recovered by the Sharks and might turn into odd man rush
Yep.
going the other way. So good call there. I will say this because talking about the stick lift, the one thing that stood out with Sennecke in this game is that, and again, this is a cliche, but he is a gamer. Like he was getting his nose dirty. He was going to the net. There was one point where he gave Nick Leddy, I think, 5 cross checks in a row, standing at the net front to create space for himself. There was the one scrum where it might have been the same play where him and Leddy are just kind of duking it out in front of the net after the whistle. So he's a hockey player. He's there to win. He's not just there to get his points and get his dangles. Like he does those kind of less glamorous things, and you could see he loves it too, because after that play where Leddy was just kind of face washing him and pushing his helmet over his face, like Sennecke was all smiles on the bench after that. Like he was eating that up. Maybe he was thinking like, holy shit, I'm doing this in the NHL. Like this is hilarious. But so I do like that about him.
Yeah, I like that he's a bit of an a-hole, and I didn't expect those kind of like dirty area plays coming from him, because you see him, like, you watch him so much in junior and he just operates on the perimeter and then makes his moves to the middle. But to see him kind of get on the inside is kind of refreshing, and especially on his goal, which is, I don't know why John Klingberg is on the PK, but he just easily boxed him out and found a rebound and poked it home. So
Yeah.
that's good to see.
Yeah, he's willing to go to the net. And it's like you said, in junior, I mean, if you watch just a random Beckett Zennecke game from the OHL last season, he can kind of go missing for a few shifts in a row where he's just kind of floating around. And maybe that's part of the reason the Ducks kept him up, is they see a guy who's going to be motivated by being in this environment and who's going to elevate his game and elevate his engagement. I mean, we kind of saw it with Cutter Gauthier a little bit last year, where Cutter Gauthier did a lot of floating in college hockey, but once he got to the NHL, he became like a checker on top of all his skill. Some will say it's because Greg Cronin put him on the fourth line. I would disagree with that, but also I just have to chuckle at John Klingberg being on the PK. I'm glad you brought that up, because I heard so many people say before the season, including a co-host who's not here today, that the Sharks blue line looks a lot better this season. I'm like, am I the only one who remembers John Klingberg playing for the Ducks? That was 2 years ago. He hasn't gotten better since then.
He's played on better teams and been in better environments, but then you put him in a bad environment and all of a
He's
sudden,
bad again.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he scored in this game. Should also note, Granlund had a really nice assist on the Killorn goal. Just kind of a aerial pass, perfectly in stride to Killorn. But yeah, what did you make of McTavish in these first 2 games? Because he's a guy who missed time, and we were all kind of worried about just what his level would be like to start.
Yeah, a guy who, notoriously has gotten off to a few slow starts in his career is not off to a slow start anymore. I think his playmaking has increased. I've been impressed with a little bit of his vision. He's winning his battles. His motor's high. I don't know. I don't have really any complaints about McTavish's game. I thought he might have been. He's one of the Ducks' most impactful players in these first 2 games for sure, and is kind of driving that line.
Yeah, I do think that he is kind of like the conductor of that line, because you've got a 19-year-old rookie and you've got Gauthier, who's very tunnel vision-y at times, and McTavish just kind of knows how to set the table for these guys. And it'll be interesting to see kind of, in like 10 games what he looks like, because he might even be a little behind right now. So the fact that he looks this good this early is promising. Well, I do want to talk about the blue line quickly here. Anything that's stood out to you from this bunch?
Well, you mentioned Lacombe, and after the big contract, looking a little, what was it?
Casual,
nonchalant, casual.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it. but he's not
So you
making mistakes.
you agree with it then?
I do. He looks. I mean, if you watch him play and hyper focus on him, he's very casual. He's not really moving his feet when he's bringing pucks up the ice, but he's still protecting it. It's very Miro Heiskanen a little bit with just the just he doesn't take many strides, but he doesn't lose any races to lose pucks or anything. It's very interesting to watch. I don't remember seeing any Ducks defensemen do that since, not to invoke a Hall of Famer, but Scott Niedermayer used to play like that all the time, where it's like this guy doesn't take any strides, but he's dominating play and shielding pucks. And I kind of see that with Lacombe a little bit. But yeah, the nonchalance is very, it was an astute observation from you, and I agree with it. But I thought his play was pretty good. 27 minutes, I think, in the San Jose game.
I mean, how much of it do you think is just the ice time, that he almost knows, like, I have to conserve energy, and so
I don't know about that, but I never thought about it like that. But it kind of makes sense. Yeah, I mean, he's the first
possible.
over the boards in any situation, right?
Yeah. Well, the other guy I wanted your take on was Olin Zellweger, because to me, I thought that maybe not quite as much against the Kraken, but certainly against the Sharks, he just looks better. He looks better at everything than he was last season. Like, he looks faster, he looks stronger, he looks better with the puck. Like, his skill actually looks like he's handling the puck a little cleaner. It's not necessarily leading to more points or more offense or what have you, but he just looks physically better. Are we perhaps on the precipice here of another breakout defenseman for the Ducks this season?
I mean, when the coaching change was made, it was always like, okay, who's going to benefit the most? And it was hard not to select Olin Zellweger if you were to pick a player that would benefit the most based on the play style, the opportunity. Now he's not in constant fear of ending up in the press box the next game, and constant fear of making a mistake. This possession system is all about keeping the pucks on your stick, and that, he's pretty lights out with the puck on his stick. He's got all the skill in the world. He's one of the best skaters, in the NHL, and now he just has an opportunity to hold on to pucks instead of becoming a glass chipper and a stretch passer but the Gautier's second goal, he pinched down the wall to disrupt a breakout, and it led to McTavish covering for Zellweger and throwing that puck on net, and he's very active and involved, and that's what you love to see from Zellweger. So if you were to, a breakout candidate on the blue line, I think Zellweger's the guy.
Yeah, right now he looks like their second best defenseman, and it's not even really that close. All due respect to the longtime veterans, but yeah, I think that I didn't really think about that in terms of the coaching change, but it is true that when you watch him in these first two games, he's more willing to just get into the offensive zone. I forgot he actually screened the goalie on that Gauthier goal. He was at the net front, but he's also just more willing to hang on to pucks, kind of like what we saw from him coming out of junior. Honestly, like that's what made him so good, was that he could make plays with the puck deep in the offensive zone, but then have the skating ability to get back and cover any ground that he may have given up. And last year, that just got taken away from him basically because of who. And so it's good to see, but I think just physically he looks just more confident. He looks like he's I mean, I think he had a play, was it I forget which game it was, but he attempted an open ice hit, like just a Jacob Trouba style open ice hit, and was not successful at all, but he came at that guy like a freight train, and I was like, oh, okay. That tells me confidence. Like, he's just out there to wreck people, and both offensively and defensively. Yeah. And I love that mindset from him. Like, that's what you want from Olin Zellweger. Like, he puts so much time into his game, into his craft, that at a certain point it has to pay off. And I think we're starting to see that this season. All those times, all those extra hours he put on the rink, which he's still putting into it. I think it's going to pay off for him, and that is very exciting. if you're someone who's thinking about this team kind of long term. On the flip side of that coin, Mr. 10th overall, Pavel Mintyukov in 2022. So coming out of the Sharks game, so he played about 12 minutes in that game. He's not playing on the power play. He's not playing on the penalty kill. I watched that game live and thought, yeah, he was just not good at all. And then I went back and rewatched just his shifts today, and I thought, okay, I was a little hard on him. I will say, though, so he's still doing a lot of the Mintyukov things. Like, he's very aggressive at killing off breakouts for the other team. He's so aggressive at, like, pinching up. But where I think he really struggles is the breakout game, just overall. You know, when he goes back to retrieve pucks, sometimes he doesn't shoulder check, which is kind of shocking when you see it. He gets shoved off the puck once he gets to the spot. And then on the breakout, you know, it's hit or miss. And so I've sounded the alarm on him before in preseason, and I've gotten some pushback on that. I've gone back and looked today. I thought he was better than I remembered. So I'm not sounding the alarms yet. Where are you at on Mintyukov 2 games in?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think you know, he's not killing the plays in the neutral zone like I like my Mintyukov to do. I think he's just one of those guys who I've always seen read plays really well and become disruptive. And I thought that, and it's only 2 games, but I thought he could have been a little more of that. Shown a little bit more of those flashes. But yeah, the retrievals and breakout is where I'm like, man, you have so much skill, and you're, you know, from what we've seen, you're a smart player. You can break down the guy in front of you. You can read that F1 pressure. And now that the breakout is more predictable than it has been in the last 2 years, it should have been an easy transition like it was for Zellweger. Again, only 2 games. We got to keep harping on only 2 games. But, you know, I would have liked to have seen those situations be a little cleaner and those outlets to be a little cleaner. And when he's advancing with the puck, I like what I've seen from his stride and, you know, his aggression. But yeah, it's those retrievals that are a little bit concerning to me, and I think you nailed it with that. And
Yeah,
but also in coverage, in defensive zone coverage, when he's, you know, on puck, off puck, I think he's been fine.
Yeah, like he hasn't been terrible by any stretch. It's just that for a third-year player, you know, I mean, as a defenseman, getting the puck back when it gets dumped in is a pretty common occurrence, and he's had a lot of reps at that now, and it just doesn't seem. It almost seems to be getting worse. Like, I don't remember it being this bad when he was a rookie. I really do think that last season got into his head a little bit of just second guessing himself, and he does seem to be a guy, like you kind of touched on, who just thrives off of being aggressive and just no hesitation going for it. And, you know, maybe now with this new coaching staff, don't be afraid to make mistakes. At some point, he'll buy into that, and it'll free him up. Because there are instances where you see him getting really low in the offensive zone, sneaking in backdoor. Like, we saw a couple of those plays where Pavel Mintyukov is in the offensive corner. And so I think that that's a good sign. It's just that, you know, the breakout game is very, very important for a defenseman. And if you can't do that, it's just going to be tough sledding in the NHL. So we'll keep an eye on it. It's just 2 games. Just not too worried about it. I guess his counterpart, Drew Hellison. I mean, how much does Drew Hellison factor into all this for Pavel Mintyukov?
You know, with a guy like Mintyukov, you want a stable, like reliable defenseman, and in theory, again, that is Drew Hellison. I don't know. I was all gung ho for the Lacombe Hellison pairing. I thought that was going to stick, and the coaching staff obviously saw something different. And you know, Hellison plays a little more nonchalant. You know, he's
also not fast.
No. But yeah, reliability is key with him. And in theory, that should be a decent sheltered pair when they get those minutes. But I'd like to see more from the both of them as far as being a little more, killing more plays, and then just advancing them quicker and igniting these rushes that I think because they have the skill to break up those plays and turn it into quick offense. We just haven't seen it yet. Maybe they're a little hesitant for whatever reason, but
yeah. Yeah, I think that pairing can be a very good pairing if you just give it, more than 2 games to work out. Okay, well, any other notes from these first 2 games? Anything else that has caught your eye? I feel like we've done a decent job here.
Yeah, we've pretty much the whole roster. I think Gudis looked pretty good. Pretty hard on Gudis last year, but I think he's looked pretty good in these first 2 games. No glaring mistakes where he's really taken himself out of any plays or anything.
Paling's looked okay. I mean,
Paling's looked okay.
Paling's very much an NHL 4th line center. Like he gives you a steady brand of hockey. You know what you're going to get. Okay, well, let's turn the page on that. 2 games in, not too bad. Hey, 1 hour for 2 games. Imagine there'll be 10 games to talk about. It'll be a never-ending podcast. So I gave you a homework assignment, which I want to do on this podcast, as Jake knows, to give people stuff to look at between pods. Roger McQueen. Remember him? Roger McQueen, the one that we didn't get to see at training camp because college, supposedly, although who knows these days with the rules anymore. He made his college debut, regular season debut this weekend, 2 games against Michigan. He did also a preseason game last week against Quinnipiac. Obviously, 10th overall pick in the prior draft. If you've been watching the Victory Plus broadcasts, you've probably seen the montage of his draft day a few times now rerun in the intermission. It's a good montage, but after the 4th time, it's like, all right, I get it. So the homework assignment was to have you watch McQueen's games this weekend. So let's hear it. What did you see? What did you like? Give us the scoop.
Well, he's winning the Hobie Baker. No. No, I thought he very much looked like a guy who'd only played 20 games in the last 365 days. I thought the open ice stick time type skill, just the raw hockey stuff, the skating was good, the stick handling was good, the shots good. It's the game situations, like we've said, since he's been drafted, that's the kind of stuff that he needs to refine as this year goes on. He just needs to play hockey, right? I thought he played pretty responsibly. He was always supportive and stuff like that, which is good to see. His skating allows him to cover great distances of ice and be disruptive. I didn't see him. He wasn't as disruptive as I'd want him to be. Michigan also is a very good team. Yeah. So I think that had something to do with it because they looked like they were they were juggernaut. They looked like they were in midseason form. Because this wasn't their first game of the year, and they dismantled Mercyhurst. Yeah,
that's right. They had already. I think they won like 10-0 or something their first game. Yeah. So
they very much look like a well-oiled machine, and I thought McQueen was kind of playing catch up a little bit in some of the like time and space stuff. He's in a brand new league with older guys than he's used to. I thought a lot of the plays where he's trying to skate pucks through the neutral zone, he's not really stick handling around those defenders and in those spaces very well and advancing pucks. So I think that's the kind of stuff he needs to work on, I would say, and which kind of took me by surprise because I looked at his elite prospects like tracking data that they have in their draft guide every year, and
that's right. Yeah.
His transition numbers were really, really good. So I was a little surprised to see him kind of struggle in that area, but in the tight areas, I thought he didn't win a ton of battles, but I thought the way he kind of stick handled and created from those areas, I thought that was pretty good. Overall, he didn't score. He was like a -2 or 3. Who cares? But he wasn't. None of the goals were really his fault, I don't believe. So just kind of a run of the mill. It was just good to see him on the ice again. Playing. I will say playing, but I will say like he made a ton of hits. Like every time he had a chance to make a hit on a forecheck and finish, he did it. So that was really good to see if you had any concerns about his back. So it seems to be like it's fully healed, I guess, because that's an indication, he's initiating contact and engaging physically.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that that's a good summary there. I too watched those games. Probably not as in depth as I should have, but but that's why I give other people the work to do. But based on what I saw from these games and a little bit too of the preseason game against Quinnipiac, I thought that it's exactly what you said, where he looks like a guy who hasn't played a lot of hockey in the last year. He also looks like a guy who is fine physically. Like he's moving around great. I think his skating might have actually improved a little bit, where there were a couple times, especially as, into the second game of the weekend, where I thought that he had some plays where he was showing a little more agility. There was one play where I think he tried the 10 and 2 or like Mohawk stride, where you've got your toes pointing out, and when you're 6'6" doing that, like that's that's a lot of ice that you're covering in a short amount of time. So I think the agility's come up a bit. I think that the stride looks a little crisper, because that was always my issue with him last year, was just, when he gets going, he is obviously unstoppable, but it's just those changes of direction. I thought that looked better. But yeah, we didn't really get to see a lot of playmaking. We didn't really, he didn't have the puck on his stick a lot, and when he did have it, he was kind of looking to make the simple play. One thing he does that I don't really like, Providence had a 5-on-3 in that second game, and he does tend to kind of force his shot a little bit from that left circle, and it really bugs me for some reason, because it's very obvious that that's not the play in that moment. There's like somebody right in front of him. So that's something he'll learn, but overall, yeah, it's positive. He's out there. He's throwing hits. He's engaged. Doesn't look any worse for wear injury wise. And we'll see. We'll see what this season kind of does for him, because I still wonder a little bit. Just, it would have been nice for him to just have a year where he could just really go crazy offensively and kind of get all of that time back that he missed. And then go to college and kind of refine the game. Now it's a little bit of, you skip the step of dominating and you're going straight to the refining. And I'm just wondering what player we're going to get on the other side of that. It could work out great. It could work out meh. We'll see, but he looks good. It's good to see him just out there, period. Okay, well, I think that's all we had. So I'm going to get into some questions here from Discord. If anyone has any questions on YouTube or Twitch, so if you're watching live right now, throw your questions into the chat and we'll get to them. Fear not. So please do throw those in so we can address them. But I'll start with this question from our Discord. We only have one question from Discord this week. Wow, people are slacking off.
Disappointing.
Disappointing. Yeah, Discord appointing. This question from Brad. So asks, can Leo/Cutter/Beckett be as good as Celebrini/Misa/Smith? So who are you taking? The Ducks young trio or the Sharks young trio?
It's tough. I think if you're parsing out their point totals throughout their whole careers, I would probably take the Sharks guys. I just think they're very, very dynamic, and you can't go wrong. But I think the hope is that the way the Ducks are built, they will thrive in those playoff scenarios with their size and their speed. They can play the physical game and the speed game and all the things that Pat Verbeek likes to say. But it's kind of true. We saw it with how the playoffs kind of are. The ice shrinks, and the tight areas are the areas that win championships. And I think the way to look at it, if you're a Ducks fan and you're hoping that the answer is the Cutter Leo Beckett trio, is that in those games those are the guys that you want. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that answer? That playoffs you want the Leo crew, and then for their whole careers and point totals you want the Misa and Celebrinis.
Well, okay, let's just go bit by bit here. The first player you're drafting out of that group is Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah,
so
hands down.
So
easy.
So having the best player of the group weighs a lot in the calculation. You want the best player, and you kind of worry about everything else after.
Hmm.
But then, so it's Celebrini over Leo. As much as we all love Leo Carlson, I don't think even the most Homer Ducks fan would disagree. Like Celebrini over Leo Carlson, but you never know. Never doubt the Homerism abilities. Number two is where it does get a little interesting because I think I could make a case that Beckett and Cutter will be better than Misa and Smith. How do you feel about that? Because
You
to
can
me,
make the case that Beckett and Cutter.
yeah, Beckett and
Okay.
Cutter over Misa and Smith.
Okay.
Because here's my case. Here's my case. So I like Michael Misa a lot. I came around on him. I think he'll be a very good NHL second line center, kind of do it all, playmaker, scorer, all of that. Um, but then you have Will Smith, and I like Will Smith a lot. Very skilled, great playmaker, great shot, great hands, all of that. But he's not the fastest. He's not the strongest. He's also a winger, which to some people that matters. It's not a huge deal to me, but he doesn't project to me as an elite winger. Uh, maybe in the regular season he'll be really good, but in the playoffs, I think he might be a guy who will take some time to get to that point where he can dominate in the playoffs. You go look at Cutter and Beckett Sennecke, and it's like Cutter Gauthier, I think has all the tools to be great in both regular season and playoffs, which is what you said. I mean, he's got the size, he's got a great skating stride, he's got an elite shot. The hands are very good. The playmaking is so, but he profiles as a true top six winger. And then you've got Beckett Sennecke, who, from what we've seen so far, is maybe better two-way than we thought and has the skill. I think I'm taking Sennecke over Smith. So maybe you'd rather Misa, but I think overall maybe Cutter Beckett over Misa Smith. Just because of the kind of the physical profiles of these guys.
Yeah, the floor is higher. Yeah, Cutter is. I mean, he's a 20 goal scorer in the NHL already, and it seems like he's just scratching the surface, like he's just figuring out the game, and he's already rounded out his game quite a bit in just like 85 games or whatever he's played. So I like that that synopsis. I think good job.
Yeah, I will say, like, of course, I think Misa and Smith are more skilled, pure skill, but it's not always about just the skills. So,
Right.
Okay, we've got one from Dr. Plant Wrench. I don't understand this question.
Okay.
Mixega or MSG? I don't know. Is that a reference to something?
Uh,
Probably is.
Nicknames for the kid line, I think.
Mixega?
McTavish, Sennecke, Gauthier. Yeah.
Wow. That is such a reach for a nick. We don't need to have these crazy nicknames. Look, I get it. Kidline is overdone, but I had no idea that that's what that was. So I guess Mixega or MSG. Well, obviously you don't want MSG. MSG line sounds not good. I think MSG is healthy now. Like,
Oh, okay.
I'm sure in 5 years that'll change again. So whatever.
I think if a nickname makes sense, do it. Like the Kings with their like that 70s line, that was cool. Like if it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, just the kid line is fine.
Yeah, kid line is fine. Like it's got to be organic. Like Ricky Edam cakes, that was organic.
Nice.
Didn't quite roll off the tongue, but it was organic.
Throwback.
Yeah, I love that line. Raquel, Emerson Edam, and Yuri Sekach. That's one of my favorite Ducks lines ever. They just weren't given a chance. I'll always die on that hill. Okay, I think we've just got one more question in YouTube,
Okay.
unless someone's got anything else. Could a stint in the this is from Harrison? Could a stint in the AHL benefit Minchikov? What say you?
I think it would kill confidence more than it would help round out his game. I think his is just, they say it takes defensemen however many games to kind of fully it takes some defensemen a certain amount of games to kind of fully adapt their games to the NHL game. And I think maybe we're just witnessing that with Michikov. I think we've seen what a trip to the press box does to him
He does not
potentially
like it.
psychologically. Yeah, and it hurts his game, right? And then he becomes the glass chipper who's afraid to make a mistake and kind of neuters what makes him special. So I think sheltering him on the third pair is probably what I would keep doing if it were up to me. And I don't think a trip to the AHL would be beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard because it's like once the toothpaste is out of the tube, now that he's been an NHLer, is it really, how does it go over internally that you're sending him to, it's kind of like the Kevin Korchinski thing in Chicago, where he starts in the NHL and then he goes back to the AHL. And part of that was the rules, but I do think that you're in dicey territory. I also just don't know, like, would the AHL really help him? I'm not so sure. The AHL is a weird league. It helps some players and it doesn't really help others. So I don't know. I think he's just got to play through it. But again, he doesn't look terrible. It's just these little things in his game that are really kind of a bit of a hang up right now. Okay, let's go to this final question then from Plant Wrench. Should Sennecke stay on the second line no matter what when Strom comes back? Whoa.
Well, if he looks terrible, I don't want him to stay on the second line. I don't think if he's costing the team goals with turnovers at the top of the circle or anything. I don't.
Yeah.
So no. But I would kind of the leash got longer, I think, and I think you kind of want to, maybe if it was a 2-game leash, it's a 5-game leash, and we'll kind of see how it goes. Because you want him to be in positions to succeed. You want to give him the best matchups. I think teams are going to match up against Leo with their top checking center, which leaves McTavish's line free to thrive against other scoring lines maybe. However, coaches like to line match. So I think a second line is a good spot for him. A middle six role is a good spot for him. And, I don't know how beneficial it would be to have him be relegated back to the fourth line at this point after showing so much promise. But
yeah,
and so I think it causes a very, an interesting question to be had for sure once Strome is back and the team is healthy.
Well,
because someone's got to play there.
Yeah, I mean, they started him on the fourth line. Like, that was the plan until it wasn't. And so I'm not sure kind of where you go from there, but I think that ideally it's a really weird position to be in because, again, the Ducks are trying to make the playoffs. The season is about winning 2 points every night. And it's like you said, as long as he keeps playing well, he'll stay there. But can you really justify a quote-unquote development spot for a 19-year-old rookie in your top 6 when you're trying to make the playoffs? Like, it doesn't quite track with the goal of the season. And so I do think that once he cools off, that's when it's probably time to swap him out. And I'm not even the biggest, like Ryan Strome guy, but it's just you also got to think that the lines are going to be kind of reshuffled, reorganized. One thing I'd love to see is Terry with McTavish. I think those guys could work well. So we will see. This one from Austin says predictions for Ducks versus Penguins tomorrow. Do you expect Granlund Terry line to do well against poor depth with Pitt? What's your prediction?
Oh man,
I'm so bad at predictions.
Pittsburgh is they're finicky as all hell, and I don't know what to make of them. They're old but skilled and shallow, but it's working right now. I don't know. I don't trust Tristan Jarry.
I think Dostal is going to start probably.
I do, yeah, definitely. I'll start the home opener. So I will say 4-3 OT win for the Ducks.
OT, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Ducks are going to win. It will be a good test, though, because I think the Penguins they're going to be the best team they've played so far, despite the Penguins not being good. If you compare them to San Jose and Seattle, I think they're the best team.
Yes, They still have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, and
Yeah.
yeah, Ricardo Rakell's a good player. Brian Russ is
You,
a good player.
you had to think about that one though. Yeah, but they are a very, very weird team where their top six has a lot of old, and then their third line center is the guy they just drafted in the first round, Ben Kendall. So that's a weird one. And then yeah, on the blue line, it's the same thing. They've got some youth back there. So I love when a team though that nobody expected to be good is more feisty out of the gates. It's more fun. So we'll see. Before we get out of here, a couple things. So I'll throw you something here. So anything that's caught your attention this season in the NHL, it doesn't have to be.
Ooh.
Can be a player, can be a new tactic, just anything that's caught your eye, good or bad, or indifferent. Anything that's caught your eye that's made you perk up a little bit.
I haven't watched a ton. It's just been so much. So I get like little snippets of every game, but I have made a point to watch the Flyers. And
Ooh. Uh-oh. People are about to get upset. All right, so for those who can't stand hearing about Trevor Zegras, put on your earmuffs right now. You've been warned. Okay, continue.
So I thought it's interesting they already pulled him off of center and put him back on the wing, but he made an incredible assist today. But they're just a fun team to watch, and I enjoy watching the Flyers. I don't know. That's the only really thing I've pulled away from the NHL as a whole right now. I have to let the season breathe a little more and get my eyeballs on some more games because I've been so Ducks focused. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't really have anything. Do you? Interesting.
I've got a few.
Okay.
But I don't know. We don't want this podcast going too long. But can I ask something on that Zegras assist? Do you think he meant for it to go there?
No, I think he knew a player was in that vicinity and just threw it as hard as he could. He drew those. I mean, he did a great job to draw those defenders to him, and I think he just kind of threw it to an area where he knew a teammate was, and it worked. So that's what I think.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on there. Where he just has really elite instincts as a playmaker. That was an instinctual play. It wasn't, I see a guy, I'm going to put it on his tape, but when you're that good of a playmaker, like it ends up looking like that. And I watched his first game as a Flyer, just his part of it. I'm not watching the whole Flyer game. And I'm a little worried just because I think in that game they had him with Konechny and Frost. Could be going crazy there, but
no, Frost is on the
not Frost, Tippett. Sorry, I get those guys confused. And they just barely had the puck. They were not possessing the puck that game, and I don't think it was Zegras' fault. But he was just doing a lot of cardio, just one end to the other, and it was just not a lot of puck touches. He lost a lot of face-offs. It was just not a great night. So I just caught him on an off night. I will say, I think he looks bigger and stronger. Maybe it's that he's back wearing black pants or something, but he looks like he's gained a little bit of just kind of physical ability. So that's what happens when these guys are 24. Like,
right.
These are not the guys you want to trade. The guys who are still getting better year after year. Anyway, I'll leave that one alone. The other thing I want to point out, and I want to draw some attention to, the Montreal Canadiens really dominated. I don't want to say dominated, but outplayed the Maple Leafs in the first game of the season in Toronto. Are we sure the Leafs are going to be that good this year? Because without Mitch Marner, they look far less intimidating than they used to offensively.
I agree. I think that they didn't utilize the vacant cap space to, like, I don't know. There's no firepower. They're very, very top heavy now. I would agree. And their defense, they don't provide much offense from their blue line as well.
No.
So it's kind of like it's Matthews and it's Nylander and Tavares. And Matthew Nyes,
he's good. Yeah.
He's good. I was a little skeptical of, because he needs to step up and drive a little bit more. So I was a little skeptical, but he played really well today, and I was impressed with, his small area skill. So I think a lot is riding on his shoulders personally to kind of fill in the gap that Marner left. So we'll see how
Yeah,
that kind of plays out.
yeah. I had them penciled in as still a great regular season team, and I'm starting to question that a little bit because that blue line is a bit of an eyesore. Uh, geez, I don't want
Oh,
to throw.
I so I've watched a little bit of the Canadians because I want to see how Ivan Demidov is doing
Okay,
because
okay.
that's going to be a storyline forever. I mean he looks good. He does
He
a
looks
lot of
good. He hasn't been
yeah
great, but he's looked good.
yeah. I really like Oliver Kapanen. I've enjoyed his he's a
You would
detailed
like
center.
all. That is
I
definitely
do.
your kind of player.
Yep.
Uh,
He's a north south detailed center. I really like his game, and if Barkov's not on the Finland team, is he the next guy up for for an Olympic spot?
oh God. So Oliver Kapanen is a huge lightning rod of debate in the
Is he
Montreal.
really? Oh, I
Yes,
didn't know.
he is because there are people who view him as a top six forward, and there are others who think he's a fourth line center at best. I am in the middle where I think he's a good. I like him a lot, like kind of like you, where he just plays the game the right way. He skates well. He moves pucks. He's got a decent shot. Like it's all there. But I mean, if he's top six center for Finland, I like Oliver Kapanen, but I don't like Finland's chances of getting a medal if that's the
Well,
case.
I just was wondering if he'd make the team,
Oh yeah,
but
I think he has to. I
yeah,
mean, there can't be 13, 14 better forwards in Finland than Oliver Kapanen. I reject that.
sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
he's
not
a good.
projecting him to like score 90
No, no,
points or
yeah,
anything, but I think he's going to be a good middle six center, throughout his career.
yeah. Getting a lot of Sennecke better than Demidov in the chat right now. I
Oh,
mean,
of
hey,
course.
you know what? Talk your shit, folks. Now's the time. Senneca's got what is it? 3 points,
3 points in
point.
2 games. Seneca or Demidov has 3 points in 5 career games, so
Yeah, yeah.
Seneca was the pick.
The debate is settled.
Yep, that's it.
That's hilarious. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to bring up. Shoot, did I forget it? It's quite possible.
My bad.
Oh no, I got it. I saw a debate pop up on Twitter the other day, and I'm curious your take on this. I am seeing people say Jack Eichel, or Austin Matthews.
Ooh.
Who's the player you want on your team? I know where I land, but I'm curious. I'm not going to bias you too much one another. Where are you at on that? Is it even a conversation for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I did
Okay.
not expecting that. I have no idea.
Sometimes you just ask random scenarios and it makes you think when maybe it isn't one. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, I think they're both good, pretty good defensively. They're different in their approaches offensively. Damn, that's tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Well, because I got into a debate the other day on Twitter about it, and the person I was debating with kept bringing up the playoff aspect and how Eichel's done it in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Eichel's also hasn't had to play in the playoffs as much, so I
that's
just
true.
don't know. I don't know how much weight that really holds for me personally.
Uh, I mean, he did play really well in the playoffs.
He was very good, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
I don't know. Jesus, that's tough. Tougher than I
you're
was
thinking.
expecting.
You're thinking about it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
who would I want? I'd probably still go Matthews just because he's a game breaker, but so's Eichel. I don't know, man. They're both really good centers, two-way.
Yeah,
That's usually the tiebreaker for me is like, can this guy play defense? Can he shut down the opposing center? Like if they're going up against each other, who's shutting down who? And I think they could both do a pretty damn good job.
Yeah. I do. I am very curious to see what Matthews looks like without Marner because I do feel like Marner really helped his offense quite a bit. I think there's an argument to be made that not looking at points because people get on me about like saying stuff that doesn't match up with points, but not
Sure.
looking at points that Eichel was better than Matthews last year. But I think that I would still rather have Matthews because as elite as Jack Eichel is at transitioning the puck, at setting up blind mates, that one shot kill shot ability with Matthews is still like, it's just so rare. It's
Yeah.
so rare to have a guy who can do that, and he can skate, and he can set people up, and he's got size. Um, it is close though, but
Yeah.
I think Matthews just has another level offensively that Eichel just can't, because no one else could shoot the puck like Matthews.
Yeah, it's that instant offense element that is probably the only separating factor.
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah, it might be tied otherwise.
Hmm.
It might even be Eichel ahead slightly otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I was watching the Blackhawks play the Canadians this weekend, and I was watching Connor Bedard, and I was starting to think like, geez, I really like this guy, but man, he's just not looking like he's doing a whole lot out there. But then you remember that he just needs one or two shots, and he can completely change the game.
Yeah.
And those are the guys you have to worry about. So.
And very little space to get it off.
And that's the thing, is people love Celebrini, as they should, because Celebrini is so noticeable every single shift. He does all those little things and those big things. But what's more important, or what's more valuable, that guy or the guy who can just decide a game with a flick of his stick, one or two times a game? Like, it's
Right.
it's a conversation to be had. But I think that's all the time we got.
Yeah.
90 minutes. So Patrick, thanks for coming on. And for those who don't follow you, I will recommend everyone to go check out your Twitter account at Patrick C Presents. Everyone, make sure to follow him. Follow the Hockey News. Follow Derek. They do great work over there, writing things up every game. We are very lucky because there was a time where getting quality Ducks coverage was a challenge, and the dog days are over. We're pretty spoiled nowadays. We get line updates all the time. We get great quotes. So keep up the great work. Thanks for jumping on. And for those who want to support Crash the Pond, there's some really easy ways to do that. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/crashthepond. For $2 a month, you get access to our patrons only Discord, where you can interact with me, with Jake. Patrick is in there as well, but you can also connect with other diehard Ducks fans. You can up that pledge to $7.50 a month, get access to 2 bonus podcasts and prospect videos that I do. So check that out. Follow us on all the social media pages. Also, make sure to check out crashthepond.com. We have a website. We've had one for years, but we're trying to do a little bit more on the written content side this season. So follow Crash the Pond on Twitter. And with all that said, thank you for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.
See ya.